So, should you buy new construction or an existing home here in the Boise metro area? Man, I get that question all the time. So, I'm going to take a few minutes today and talk about the advantages of each, talk about some of the pitfalls. And the intention of today's video is that by the end of it, you can make an educated decision should you decide to purchase a home here in the beautiful Treasure Valley. I'm excited about today's video, guys. Let's dive in. Alright guys, there is a huge demand for resale homes here in Idaho, and here's why. First of all, neighborhood feel. The video we're watching right now is in Tuscany subdivision, about a 21-year-old neighborhood. You cannot get trees like these without this timestamp of maturity here. So this is one thing you will not find in new construction and is a huge draw for resale. On top of which, the vibe of the neighborhood comes down to a mixed demographic characteristics. That is, people have grown old in this neighborhood and remained. Kids have grown up, so you've got teenagers, and then some homes have turned, bringing new families into the neighborhood. A different timestamp means different financial demographics as well, and I think that's an important diversification in the neighborhood feel. Lot sizes. Older homes tend to be on larger lot sizes. That is not always the case, but they're definitely building smaller today. And then finally, the existence of an HOA. There is not always HOAs in older neighborhoods. There's almost always HOAs in newer neighborhoods. So if an HOA is important to you, you may be considering an older house. So here's what you should be watching out for as you consider buying an older home in Idaho. First and foremost, deferred maintenance. Those are projects that the homeowner has not gotten to that need attention, such as a roof. A roof can cost you $15,000 easy. An HVAC system, that's another $10,000 to $15,000 there. And right around the 20-year mark of a home's age is when these things start becoming important. You should be painting the house every 7 years. Keep your eye on those things, guys, because sometimes the price of the home doesn't reflect those items. And unfortunately, you can't borrow money to fix things around your house the way you can to buy a home. So keep that one front and center as you're shopping. Design elements that are dated and layout decisions. They were building homes differently in the 90s, early 2000s, and 80s. I mean, the reality is some of those floor plans don't make sense in today's environment, and they're hard things to fix. So keep your eye on that as you're shopping as well. Community designs for specific needs of the generation that the home was built. Sometimes the amenities in a community were perfect for the generation that originally bought the homes, but they lack a swimming pool or whatever it is that people are looking for in a home today. Competitive. Existing homes are the most competitive product in Idaho right now because some people are not willing to take the jump into new construction for reasons we'll talk about in the second half of this video. But a lot of times you're competing against another buyer to own a home here, which can make it very aggressive and sometimes cost more and definitely waive some of your contingencies going into the project. And then the final piece of the watch out for this, if you don't have an HOA in the neighborhood, potentially there's nobody keeping an eye on the quality of the homes, and things like working on a car in your front yard and not taking care of your lawn. All of that stuff can drag on your value as a homeowner. So the nice thing about HOAs is they have some level of government that keeps people accountable to neighborhood value, and the downside is there's somebody keeping an eye on you. So depending on who you are in that equation, just keep your eye on that. I've seen home value deteriorate because of the way neighbors were living. Alright guys, the moment we have all been waiting for, new construction. Now, if you're one of the people leaning towards a new construction purchase, I gotta say, like older homes, there's a lot of variables to consider which can have a major impact on the outcome of the purchase. But I'm gonna start by talking about what I love about new construction projects out here in Idaho. And first and foremost is every single component of the house is new and you get to be the first person who lives in the house. That's a wonderful feeling. I've been able to go through it myself as a homeowner, and it does add something special to the purchase when you get to be the first person across the threshold and make life happen in the home. That also brings us to brand new major systems in the home. The roof is new, the HVAC system's new, the paint on the exterior and interior are new. So the next cost coming down the pipeline is years out, and that can have a big financial impact on a family when things like roofs and HVAC system replacement show up, and that can save you a lot of money on the bottom line of home ownership, which is the perfect segue into the next positive component of new construction, which is Design and layout choices are current. It's kind of amazing how quickly things can go out of vogue in the design space, and ultimately, you go back 8 years, you can find beige walls and porous backsplash. The reality is those are not considered appropriate anymore. We're looking at white on white, high contrast interior finishes, and in order to pay for those things to be current, it can be very expensive. So a lot of times the option of buying new construction brings you more relevant in the current design space, and that's a big consideration for a lot of folks. They are building beautiful communities in Idaho. In all honesty, it's one of the most beautiful places to live, and the new construction scene is doing a wonderful job of bringing high quality, engaging amenities to communities. Now, I'm not saying they were not doing those in older communities. I'm just saying there is a big push for community pools, for dog parks, for walking paths, for open space, and often it's easier to find that stuff in a new construction environment. And probably the most important piece of the new construction equation is it is a less competitive product to buy in Idaho. Builders are professional home sellers. They want to sell 2 homes, not 1. So they will sell you a home and the guy next to you a home without making you compete against each other to drive the price up on a product. If you're willing to make a strong, reasonable offer, they'll sell you a house as a qualified buyer. And oftentimes it's the only way to get what you want in a home, because resale projects can be highly competitive and it's very hard to find exactly what you want. Some builders will let you put a spin on what you want here. There's the semi-custom space, which is selected finishes. There's the custom space, which is building a home from scratch. You know, those two things tend to get you closer to exactly what you want, as opposed to finding the home you want and losing in a bidding war to a cash buyer or something like that. So if you're averse to the home buying competition in Idaho, consider new construction as an option. All right, with all that said, let's talk about what to watch out for if you're considering new construction as an option here in the Treasure Valley. And first on that list is neighborhood maturity. It can take 10 to 15 years for a community to settle, for the maturity of the landscaping to start to feel like an established area, and that can be a huge differentiating factor for folks when they're considering a home out here. I like to grow with the community, so I'm a little biased towards new construction in this particular conversation, but it is definitely worth pointing out in this video, you are seeing tiny little trees and lots still being built on. That doesn't quite feel like home for some folks, and if that's you, keep that in mind as you're looking at new homes out here. Living through the construction of a neighborhood is a huge consideration while you're looking at new construction. It can take builders sometimes 60 days, sometimes even as much as 12 months to build a home. So it can be a fast thing or it can be a drawn out process. And if you're not comfortable with the noise and the dust, your first year of home ownership can be painful. So keep that in mind out here. Builders are building fast, but if you're in a less established neighborhood with quite a bit of construction left, you're going to be dealing with vendors in and out early, the construction dust and noise, and that is definitely not for some folks. Lot sizes in new construction are shrinking, period. It is definitely a cost of ownership scenario where the land mass below the property is a huge consideration in the final cost of a home. How much it costs to buy a lot definitely is determined by the size of the lot. So while you're shopping in new construction, if you're seeing a trend in smaller lot sizes, don't be surprised. I'm not saying you can't find new construction on decent sized lots, but the cost of those items definitely can be prohibitive. And then the final piece of the puzzle is almost every single community built in the new construction arena out here has an HOA. If you are one of the people that does not want that in your community, you're probably not buying a new home. There are some situations where you can buy private land and build your own house separate from an HOA community, but that's a whole nother topic of conversation for another video. Thank you so much for being here today, guys. I hope you got some value out of today's video. If you did, please consider subscribing. It helps the channel out, and we certainly do appreciate your support. See you in the next video.